Welcome back to the Friday edition of the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
And we do have another unique opportunity, learning opportunity. This time we're going to move to a little bit younger audience. Yeah. Slightly younger audience. So how do you think about, or what are you thinking about after high school? Well,
maybe college.
Maybe college.
Maybe not.
Or maybe moving on to something else. There are a lot of options.
A lot of different vocations.
That's right. And so we're going to talk about vocations, and that's what they are doing at Concordia University Wisconsin this summer, and wanted to share that with you because registration for that opens up in April. Wanted to let you know about the this really exciting program called Servants of Christ Conference. Joining us by phone, the Reverend Dr. Ron Mudge. He's Associate Professor of Theology at Concordia University Wisconsin, and also the Director of the Pre-Seminary Program at CUW. Dr. Mudge, thanks so much for being our guest on the Coffee Hour.
Thank you.
So share with us a story of how you've seen the role of Concordia University Wisconsin play an important part in the formation of church workers, whether it's the Servants of Christ Conference or the students that you meet there at Concordia University Wisconsin.
Well, I've seen it in both places. So in the Servants of Christ Conference itself, we meet a number of students who are maybe feeling a little bit lonely, a little bit alone because of the pressures coming from the culture. And then we gather together a nice group of kids who are serious about their faith. We talk about topics that apply to their lives and help them to engage the culture. And they grow and develop. And I believe that we've had a total of 14 young men so far who've been part of our Servants of Christ events that have talked about becoming pastors. Some of them are here already, studying in our pre-seminary program. Others are thinking about starting in the fall, and others are still finishing up high school. As far as here at CUW, I see it again and again. Casey is a great example. He was a young man who came to us, spent his whole undergraduate education with us, and just blossomed in every way. I mean, even by the time he graduated from here, he looked a lot like the full package. He had great social skills, strong faith, very articulate, able to interact with the culture, to deal with questions and challenges, and went off to seminary. He and his wife Beth went to seminary, and then he got his first call this past year.
That's fantastic. What is the Servants of Christ Conference?
It's an event for youth going into grades 9 through 12, and the next time it happens, it will be July 28th and 29th, starting in the afternoon on the 28th and finishing up in the late afternoon on the 29th. And it's an opportunity for these kids who are in high school or going into high school to talk a little bit about how they find their identity, specifically in Christ, to have breakout sessions led by university professors and others, breakout sessions that will apply to them and also help them to deal with some of the pressures and questions that are coming from our culture. And it's also a time to worship the Lord and to have fun, play games, get to know new people.
I looked at some of the breakout sessions from last year. Sarah and I are both kind of nerdy like that when we're doing our homework, and we get all jealous and think, oh, this would be really... I looked at the sessions.
I want to be a young person again to do all these things.
We hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Why is ham okay, but so homosexuality wrong?
Was that Dr. Jastrom?
Yep.
Yeah, Dr. Jastrom.
Yep. Man.
Yeah, and that comes from a Facebook or internet idea that I hear again and again, where people are saying the same part of the Bible that says that it's wrong to eat ham is the part of the Bible that says that it's wrong to engage in homosexual acts. So, and then they kind of imply. And we have a guy with a PhD from Harvard to talk with our students about how we interpret the Bible, and that there are different kinds of laws. Ceremonial laws are not the same as moral law, for example.
Mm-hmm. Good things come from Facebook.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we engage.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's just an example of one of the past sessions that are extremely relevant to the questions that young people have today, the challenges that they face in the culture and the context in which we North American kids live, but it maybe even other parts of the world as well. But just, that's a real life situation, a real life question, I think that they'll be faced, and being able to answer those questions faithfully and with great resources too, being instructed by great professors like Dr. Jastrom. Now you mentioned, Harvard. We're also talking about a professor who translated the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah, and he's been teaching, I should verify, 25 years or so. I mean, he's got a lot of experience teaching the Bible. He knows about it, and he teaches it well. Yeah.
I can only say that because I was a student of Dr. Jastrom's as well, and so if you're a high school student or a high school student and you're looking at this opportunity to get to study and to learn, even in just a 2-day experience like this at Concordia University Wisconsin with outstanding faculty like this is something you need to do.
Totally worth it.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about where this idea began for the Servants of Christ Conference.
Right. A few years ago, we were just brainstorming, and one of the things that we brought up was just the state of youth today, the challenges that they face. Many young people are spending a lot of time on the internet, and there's a fair amount of aggressive criticism of biblical Christianity on the internet. Some of them go to public schools, and sometimes their teachers, sometimes other students can have kind of a negative attitude about Christianity. And so one of the main things that we wanted to do was to gather kids who are serious about their faith together in a context where we would talk to them about the basics of what Christian life is, how it applies to them, and then also give them some of these great sessions that are answering the kind of questions that they're asking, and oftentimes other people are asking as well. At the same time, they're seeing not only that there are other great, serious youth who are strong in the faith, but there are adults as well with good education who express themselves well. In fact, there's a whole university here that they're able to experience and see that they're not alone, that there are others who are with them. Part of that has been dealing with just the idea of identity. In our culture today, people have some pretty strange ways of trying to figure out who they are, and sometimes our culture will encourage them to look at their sense of their own sexuality, or what political attitude they have, what they're for, what they're against, sometimes just what they do or how well they perform or how well they agree to the social pressure that's coming from the internet. And in the face of that, we have a conversation about what it means to find your identity in Jesus Christ, that you are a baptized child of God, you belong to Him, and that means that you don't have anything to worry about as far as your salvation is concerned. And it also reorients how you think about yourself and your value. So often in our culture, we have to have the right answer to have value. When we're relating to Christ, we receive His gifts, and we have value because He cares about us, because He cared enough to die for us. And that's a wonderful sense of identity that can give us peace as we face all the other things that are going on in our lives.
Yeah, it can be really confusing to try to figure out your Christian identity, and when you're kind of enveloped by all of this culture on social media and the internet. We spend so much of our time in front of screens. How much of an impact does it make on young people to come together as a community and to be able to be together with other people that believe the same things that they do?
Yeah, it's really been wonderful. One of my favorite parts, there are lots of good things that go on, but one of my favorite parts is toward the beginning of the event, we have the students, we're all sitting in a room together, a large room, and if students came in pairs or small groups, they're kind of clumped together. There are always a few students who are by themselves, and there's just this kind of sense of social isolation, and then we start our icebreakers, and we're a little silly together, we're talking, we're laughing together, and we start getting to know each other, and then about 24 hours later, students have had great conversations about the most important things in their lives and defining realities about how they're going to live tomorrow and the next day and into the future. One example that stands out to me, a mom contacted me after one of these events and said that her son wasn't sure he wanted to come. He felt kind of isolated because it didn't seem there were a lot of people in his world who were serious about their faith, certainly not those his age. and he wouldn't know anybody and all sorts of things like that, but he ended up attending, and he didn't know it, but he met up with an older high school student who had been his camp counselor. So he had that immediate contact, and then they were able to spend time together, encouraging each other, and he left that just on a great spiritual high, just a great deal of confidence that he was not alone as he continues to live his life in the Lord.
We have just about 2 minutes left, and I want to make sure that we have a chance to cover some of the things that go on in this 2-day conference. What's all packed into this conference? Sometimes time to learn, time to pray, all those good things.
Yes, exactly. We could probably boil it down to worship, which would, of course, include prayer, study, and fun, which includes some pretty meaty fun where students are getting to know each other and often even talking about some really important stuff. So we have chapel. We go into our lovely chapel here at CUW, and that's a kind of a fun transition as well, as students are often laughing and giggling, and they come in and they get focused, and they know that they're going to hear the Lord's Word, they're going to receive His grace, and they sit back and do that. We also have a couple of devotions, including a devotion at a bonfire on Lake Michigan, often with the moon, the moonlight flowing down on us. And then we have a number of sessions where we meet with professors and other presenters to talk about a variety of topics. So we mentioned Dr. Jastrom. He also does a great presentation on archaeological proof that what's in the Bible is true. We've had talks on how Christians relate to the theory of evolution, how we defend the biblical teaching on creation. We've talked about how a Christian relates to science, when so often people are saying things like, you can't be a Christian and a serious scientist. We say, yes, you can, and here's how. We have talks on relating to others. So what do I do if my friend says that I'm gay? Or just how do I relate to people who are in my friend group or I know socially? We've had talks on pornography, talks on how to study the Bible like a Lutheran, talks on how to pray the Lord's Prayer. So we have some meaty studies, and then there is also time that students get to know each other. We have those icebreakers that I mentioned. During the evening, there's a time when they can play in our student center, so shoot pool or play sand volleyball outside. And then we have a little time on Lake Michigan with a bonfire and a devotion and s'mores. And then when it's time for bed, or at least time for everyone to be in their room, students often will continue the conversations that began earlier in the day as they process the things they've learned and the information that we dealt with.
The Servants of Christ Conference is taking place this summer in July. Registration, I believe, opens in April. Is that right?
Yes, April 15th.
And so we can find that at the cuw.edu website coming up in April. The Reverend Dr. Ron Mudge, Associate Professor of Theology and Director of the Pre-Seminary Program at Concordia University Wisconsin. Thank you so much for being our guest on the Coffee Hour today.
Thank you very much.
That sounds like a really great program. I want to go.
I do too.
All those, just important topics addressed in a 2-day period for high school students or those entering high school. And I'm sure also some time to think about their future as well, what they're going to do after high school. Oh, that does it for the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
The Coffee Hour with Andy and Sarah is a production of KFUO. To support the Coffee Hour and KFUO Radio, visit kfuo.org. You can also text KFUO to 41444 or send an email to gifts@kfuo.org. And you can call us at 800-844-0524. KFUO. Christ for you, anytime, anywhere.